Hi, in today's video I'm going to show you the fix for the Chromium browser's snap version not launching the desktop file. Basically, when you have an application launcher, it uses what are called .desktop files that are stored in various locations on the computer to launch the actual application. And these desktop files have the path to the application that you're going to launch in them, so that when you open your launcher program for instance, in this case, I'm running the rofi application launcher, it will find a list of all the .desktop files on your computer, and then it will be able to launch them, for instance, Firefox, OBS Studio, or Chromium. Now, the problem is that in previous versions of Ubuntu, the Chromium browser was a deb file. But in versions of Ubuntu 20.04 and later, it's actually a snap file. And the problem is when you upgrade from 18.04 to 20, you'll still have the previous desktop launcher installed. And what will happen is you'll open your application launcher and the Chromium browser doesn't show up. So what I'm going to do is show you how to fix this and the various locations the desktop files are installed. So what I'm going to do is first of all come across to the terminal and show you the three places that these desktop files are going to be installed on Ubuntu. So first of all, we have the system versions, user share applications. And you'll see here, this is a list of all the .desktop files that have been installed by applications I've installed. And this will allow the application launcher to open these applications, because inside these desktop files, they have the path to the actual application you're going to open. Now, the second location is your local share applications folder. So that's the folder in your home folder where you can install your own desktop launchers. So those are the two standard locations for the desktop files, but snap files actually are in was it var lib snapd desktop applications. So as you see, when I open this folder here, you'll see that there's desktop launchers for the snap applications I've got installed on my system, one of which is the Chromium browser. What happens is the Chromium browser desktop file is still installed in the user share applications system default folder from my previous install. So what was happening is the browser wouldn't actually open. So what the fix is, if I come across to Emacs, is to simply copy the snap version of the desktop launcher to your local share applications folder. So as I showed you before, the var lib snapd desktop applications folder is the location for the snap applications that you've installed on your system and their desktop launchers. So basically what you do is you copy that version to local share applications. So if I come across here, before I had it, ls local share applications, you'll see that I've got the Chromium desktop launcher in there. So if I come across to Emacs, basically this is the command that you would run in the terminal here. cp var lib snapd desktop applications chromium _chromium.desktop, and the line at the end is a sort of backslash to say, put this on a new line. And then we're saying copy that into tilde, which is the shortcut for our home directory, .local share applications. Now, once you've done that, it's probably a good idea to kill your application launcher. In my case, I'm using rofi, so I'd run pkill rofi, and then when I restart rofi, it will pick up the new desktop file. And if I come across and actually show you the launcher here, this is the desktop file. And normally what happens in previous versions, this exe would be the location of the binary. So normally in previous versions of Ubuntu, which were running the Debian, the Debian package, this exe execute this binary would be something like, user bin Chromium browser or Chromium. But the new version here, the snap version, basically says execute this environment, and then it has this this section here, BAM F desktop file hint, varlib snap desktop applications Chromium browser .desktop, and then the path to the snap. So this new method, basically what it has is it has the path to the desktop file and also the snap version of Chromium, which will be installed in ls, snap bin Chromium. You can see there Chromium and Chrome driver. So this new version, basically, instead of the execute section here having the path to the binary, the Chromium binary, which would normally be user local Chromium or something, it's using this new format with this desktop hint file, and the path to the desktop launcher, the desktop file in varlib snapd desktop applications, as well as the path to the Chromium binary, which is in snap bin Chromium. So basically what that means is if you're having issues with Chromium not launching, actually showing up in the application launcher you use, for instance, here's rofi, and if I type Chromium, you can see this is now showing up. What was happening previously was if I typed Chromium, nothing would actually show up at all in the application launcher, and the only way that I could launch the Chromium browser was from the command line, sort of Chromium browser, and launching it like that. So basically that's the fix for the Chromium browser desktop file for snaps not showing in your application launcher. And this may also be useful if you want to create shortcut files for actual applications that you launch, because in Chromium you can sort of save a website as an application launcher. So like if it's TweetDeck or Twitter or something, you can save the shortcut with Chromium. And what usually used to happen was you had this different syntax where you would specify execute and then the path to the Chromium binary, but this is using the new format, so you may be able to tweak this format to actually create the shortcuts that you would normally have with the Chromium browser. So if I come across to Chromium on the snap version, when you first launch it on a new session on the computer, it takes about 10 seconds to actually load up the browser, and you'll be baffled thinking nothing's happening. Once it's loaded the first time and you quit Chromium and you restart it, it will restart in about 2 seconds. But basically, I think you can you these are the shortcuts. I think you can actually save desktop shortcuts in Chromium which you can then launch with your application launching, like TweetDeck or Twitter or any application you want to launch with Chromium. So you may be able to use this syntax of the desktop file to create the launchers. But basically, I'll just give you a quick recap of this. The locations of the desktop files are in 3 places. The main one is user share applications. So that's going to be where a lot of traditional packages are going to install their desktop launchers. The second is the snap var lib snapd desktop applications. And what I found was that my application launcher obviously wasn't searching this directory structure to find the desktop files, because usually in Linux you just have the system location, which is user share applications, or your home folder, local share applications, to look for the desktop files. So my guess is that application launchers aren't actually searching this directory by default, and so maybe you're not picking up these files. Or the other option is that you might have Chromium browser installed in 2 locations in the user share applications, as well as the snap version, and that might happen if you've upgraded from a previous version of Ubuntu to Ubuntu 20, where the Chromium browser has switched from a traditional Debian package to using the new snap package. So basically the fix was we needed to copy this Chromium browser, this Chromium_Chromium.desktop file to our local share applications folder, which we did with this command: cp varlib snapd desktop applications Chromium_Chromium.desktop, and we copy that to ~/.local share applications. And if I show you the local share applications folder, you'll see I've got the Chromium browser launcher that I copied from the snap directory. And once I've done that, basically Chromium would then show up in the browser there, so I can switch to that window there. And I said you may be able to use this format to create desktop launchers that will show up in your application launcher by changing the syntax. Let me see if I can find the traditional Chromium desktop file in my local share applications folder to show you the difference, see if it's still there. User share applications, Chromium browser desktop. Okay, I'll just scroll through this and show you the actual path. Okay, as you can see here, traditionally what you'd have is this section here: execute Chromium browser -u %u. So what would happen is basically I tried changing this to the location of the snap browser, execute snap bin Chromium browser, and that doesn't work. And basically the reason is you have to use this new format here. So you can see the difference. This one is running execute environment, and then this BMF desktop file hint with the location of the Chromium desktop launcher, as well as the path to the Chromium binary in snap bin Chromium. So basically what happened was, first of all, I tried changing this executable link here in the traditional application launcher to various locations on the system, snap bin Chromium Chromium browser, all these kind of things, and it wasn't working. And it wasn't until I did a search and actually found that there was an additional desktop file that gets installed by the snap package in a different location that the application launcher wasn't searching for, that I actually came across the new version of the application launcher. And once you've copied it across into your local share applications folder, you can basically just kill your application launcher. So in my case it's rofi, so pkill rofi. And once I'd done that, and I started to search for Chromium, the option to launch it showed up, whereas previously when I typed Chromium, nothing was showing up at all. So basically that's the fix to get the Chromium Snap version working in your application launcher. And I said basically it's because either it's conflicting with the previous version that you might have installed still hanging around, or that the application launchers by default aren't searching this varlib snapd desktop application folder for applications to launch. So that's the very simple fix, and that's also the difference between the traditional desktop launcher for the Debian version versus the new Snap version, which has a different syntax. And you may be able to use this new syntax to create your own desktop launchers for applications you want to open with Chrome, sort of like a I forget what they're called. Basically, it's sort of like a creating a launching a website in the browser directly, sort of like a bookmark sort of thing. So you may be able to change the launcher down here to actually launch a specific website by hacking around with this, but I haven't had a look at that, but I know some people do actually use these desktop files to create application launchers for specific websites, and this is the new format that you would need to work with the Snap version of the Chromium browser. And I don't think it's actually possible to install a non-Snap version of the Chromium browser on Ubuntu. It will actually force you to install the Chromium browser as a Snap package. And the only downside really is when you first launch Chromium in a new session, it's going to take about 10 seconds to actually open the application. But then if you quit Chromium and relaunch it, it will launch in about 1 or 2 seconds. But as I say, the other issue is this new format for the desktop files, which I haven't actually found documented anywhere about the path to the binary, because as I said previously, if I come back across here, I have to just scroll down. You can see up here, as you see here, the previous version is directly launching the binary from this exe command here, whereas in the new version it's basically saying use this environment, and then it has this additional BMF desktop file hint section, which is new, and specifies the path to the desktop launcher and the binary that is going to launch in one go. So this is the new syntax for the Chromium Snap browser, Chromium Snap package rather, and took a little while to figure out what the issue is, and it may be just something that affects people who are upgrading from a previous version of Ubuntu to version 20, where they switched from using the Debian package to using the new Snap package. So That's basically the issue I was having and the fix for it, and the location of the snap package again is var snapd desktop it's var lib snapd desktop application. So that's the location of the desktop files that get installed when you install a snap package, whereas the traditional files, traditional Debian files, will be user share applications. So that is the location for traditional Debian packages that you've either installed manually or using apt-get. That's where they will be installed. And the third place is your local share applications folder. So it's best, what I found is to override stuff in your local share applications folder rather than trying to copy stuff into the system local user share applications folder, because then it's just cleaner, and it will mean that if you need to copy stuff to another computer to set it up, you will have your desktop launchers it saved in your home folder, so it'll make it easier to transfer the files across if you're setting up another computer. This issue might not happen on a fresh install of Ubuntu 20, because it will just have the desktop launcher for the snap application, but there may be some applications, as I said, that will have this issue if you've upgraded from a previous version of Ubuntu to Ubuntu 20, where they've made the change from Debian packages to snap packages. So that's basically the issue and the fix, and also how you could use this to create custom application launchers for various websites. So what I'll do is I'll put a link to this document under the video with the simple command you need to run here to copy the Chromium desktop file to your local share applications folder, so that the launcher is actually working properly in your application launcher, whereas what was happening for me was that the only way I could actually launch Chromium was by starting it in the browser, like so, because when I ran the application launcher and typed Chromium, nothing would actually come up until I copied the new snap version of the desktop file into my local share applications folder and killed my application launcher. Once I'd done that, basically Chromium showed up straight away. I didn't have to restart the computer, but if you're using a different application launcher, or perhaps the GNOME desktop, you may have to log in and out again or restart for it to actually pick up the new file. So that's the issue and the fix for the Chromium browser's snap version desktop launcher not working, and the new syntax that you're going to have to use instead of the previous syntax that I showed you.